What if I told you that Rose DeWitt Bukater, the romantic character from Titanic, isn't the heroine everyone thinks she is, but actually the true villain of the movie? In this video, we will deconstruct Rose's actions, revealing how her selfish and manipulative choices led to tragedy in the lives of Jack, Cal, and even in the search for the heart of the ocean. Get ready for an analysis that will completely change the way you view Titanic. You'll never watch the movie the same way again. Let's dive into the evidence and question whether, behind that epic romance, Rose was only thinking about herself all along. From the moment Rose meets Jack Dawson, he becomes the embodiment of her escape from a suffocating life. To her, Jack is the key to fleeing from the social and emotional prison she's in. However, upon closer examination, it becomes clear that Rose uses him as a means to achieve her own liberation without truly considering the consequences for him. Rose is willing to risk Jack's life and future to distance herself from an engagement with Cal and the constraints of her social class, but the question remains, how much of the love she felt for Jack was genuine or merely a way to satisfy her own desires for freedom? Rose's behavior throughout the movie reinforces this perspective. She quickly falls in love with Jack and involves him in a dangerous relationship, knowing that she's breaking away from everything she knew. Yet by doing so, she places Jack in a vulnerable position, especially when Cal and his staff discover the relationship. Jack, who had no enemies on the ship and was merely a third-class passenger, suddenly finds himself involved in a battle of jealousy and power that had nothing to do with him. Despite knowing the risks this relationship imposed, Rose persists, leaving Jack exposed to the dangers that Cal and his rage represented. The most iconic scene supporting this theory is the famous plank sequence. After the ship sinks, Rose stays on a wooden plank while Jack, in the freezing water, dies of hypothermia. The scene has always been controversial, with many arguing there was enough space for both of them. Although the movie tries to show that the plank couldn't support them both, the central issue here is not whether they could share the space, but rather that Rose never attempted to find another solution. She simply accepted Jack's fate and chose her own survival. This moment of passivity, where she allows Jack to sacrifice his life for her, reinforces the idea that from the start, Rose prioritized her own desires and dreams, even if it meant the death of someone she supposedly loved. When we examine Rose's relationship with Cal Hockley, her fiancé, it becomes evident that she manipulates both Jack and Cal to achieve her own goals. Cal is undoubtedly an arrogant and controlling character, but Rose also contributes to the destructive dynamic between them. Instead of handling the situation directly, she provokes Cal by getting involved with Jack, publicly defying him and fueling his jealousy even more. It's undeniable that Cal has reprehensible attitudes, but Rose is not entirely innocent. Her actions, as understandable as they may seem at first, create chaos and despair on the ship, driving Cal into a spiral of obsession that leads to critical moments in the film. Rose not only betrays Cal, but also humiliates him. During dinner, she accepts Cal's treatment, pretending to conform, only to later run away with Jack and engage in a risky romance. She knows Cal sees her as a possession, and instead of resolving the situation with dignity or clarity, Rose chooses to use Jack as a tool to break her chains. However, this not only causes Cal's emotional breakdown, but also puts Jack in danger. Cal's pursuit aboard the Titanic is largely motivated by the public humiliation he feels after losing his fiancée to a third-class passenger. Rose, fully aware of how Cal would react, still provokes him, intensifying the situation. The result is tragic for both men. Jack loses his life trying to protect Rose, while Cal, although surviving the disaster, is left emotionally and financially ruined. Rose, on the other hand, moves on, leaving both men behind. She uses them both for her own purposes. Jack to escape, and Cal as a reflection of everything she wants to reject from her old life. In the end, it's the two men who suffer the most, while Rose emerges with a new life, free from the constraints of her former existence. The way Rose handles Cal, manipulating his anger, and using Jack as a shield, can be seen as calculated and cruel behavior, typical of a villain disguised as a victim. The heart of the ocean is the film's most valuable and symbolic artifact, serving as a catalyst for many of the characters' actions. From the start, the jewel represents power, wealth, and status, and is directly tied to Rose's relationship with Cal. He gives her the necklace as a symbol of possession, but Rose rejects it throughout the movie, associating it with the chains that bind her to a life she doesn't want. However, what many fail to realize is that throughout her life, Rose keeps the jewel, never revealing its existence to anyone, not even to Brock Lovett's team, who dedicate years and vast resources to searching for the necklace. At the end of the movie, in one of the most controversial scenes, Rose decides to throw the heart of the ocean into the depths of the sea. This act at first glance seems like a symbolic gesture of liberation, a way to finally let go of the past. However, if we analyze this action more carefully, we can interpret it as a deeply selfish gesture. Rose knew that Lovett's team had spent years and millions of dollars trying to find the necklace, but she never gave them the chance to complete their search. Instead, she keeps the heart of the ocean as a private memory, denying others the opportunity to enjoy the historical and sentimental value of the jewel. By throwing the necklace into the ocean, Rose makes a final choice that shows how much she puts her own feelings above everything and everyone. It's an act of disdain not only for the necklace itself, but also for everyone who tried to find it, including Lovett's team. Rose acts coldly and calculatedly, preserving the necklace for herself for years, only to discard it when she decides, without any consideration for the people who invested time and effort in the search. This final act can be seen as the last hint of her selfishness. She decides when and how the necklace should be revealed, reinforcing her control over others. After surviving the Titanic disaster, Rose adopts a new identity, leaving behind her old life and everything it represented. She reinvents herself as an independent woman, free from the social constraints that once imprisoned her. However, this decision, which seems empowering, also reveals a darker side of Rose: indifference toward the people and consequences of her actions. She abandons her family without any attempt at reconciliation and, more importantly, never mentions Jack or her past life until decades later. When she is at the end of her life, this new life of Rose raises several questions. Why did she never try to reconnect with her mother, or at least close that chapter in a more humane way? And what about Jack, whose sacrifice made her survival possible? He seems to be just a distant memory. Rose lives the life Jack never had the chance to experience, but she makes no apparent effort to honor his memory in a meaningful way. Instead, she opts to erase her old life completely, as if the people and tragedies she left behind were not important enough to be remembered. Moreover, Rose never bothers to tell her full story, leaving those around her in the dark. Even Brock Lovett, who dedicates his life to uncovering the secrets of the Titanic, only learns her true identity when she decides to reveal it. This deliberate choice to keep secrets and never look back is a clear trait of indifference for Rose. Her survival and new life are the only things that matter. The others, whether it's her mother, Jack, or Cal, are relegated to the past with no visible remorse. Rose moves forward, but the path she leaves behind is filled with emotional destruction and abandonment. Throughout Titanic, Rose is portrayed as a protagonist seeking freedom and love, but a deeper analysis reveals an alternative narrative. She makes selfish, manipulative, and often cruel decisions that severely impact the lives of those around her. Jack, who helped her escape from a life she detested, ends up dead because of her choices. Cal, as villainous as he may be, is driven to ruin by Rose's public betrayal and provocations. And finally, the heart of the ocean is thrown into the sea, denying others any chance of closure or justice. In the end, Rose survives, builds a new life, and maintains control over her past, with no visible remorse for the sacrifices others made for her. Though she is seen as a victim of society and circumstances beyond her control, her choices reveal that she was willing to sacrifice anyone to achieve her own goals. This makes Rose not a heroine, but a hidden villain, whose selfishness is disguised as liberation and romance. So, what do you think about this new perspective on Rose? Could she really be the hidden villain of Titanic? Leave your opinion in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you enjoyed this theory and want to see more content like this, don't forget to give a like. It helps the channel grow and motivates me to bring more theories and curiosities for you all. And of course, turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos, because there's a lot of interesting stuff coming up. Until next time.